Very shortly. We've seen the first of our 2 live games. Very comfortable victory in the end for Chelsea. Matt, at Stamford Bridge, didn't get out of any sort of gear, did they, or didn't have to?
No, didn't need to. But they economical, weren't they? In the first half, got the goals at the right time, and that saw them through. Newcastle were huffed and puffed towards the latter stage of the first 45, but that half-time interval and obviously the second goal, just took the wind out of their sails really, and they didn't really make a concerted effort in the second half. Alonso's moment of quality with the third goal just sealed it, signed it and delivered it, didn't it? And from then on, everyone was waiting for the final whistle, us included, I think.
Yeah, exactly. There was very little pace to the game, Mike.
There was little pace, little atmosphere, although the Newcastle supporters turned up a little bit late. I mean, it was last 10 minutes they got behind them a little bit or made the voices, but it was just one of those lacklustre sort of days, a game that both teams just wanted to get done with, really.
Yeah. What sort of pressure is on Antonio Conte, would you say, bearing in mind, beaten in the semi-final on Wednesday against Arsenal? Realistically, this might be their only chance of...
He's under the spotlight, that's for sure. Partly created because it's Chelsea and partly created because of himself, in a way. He has attracted a lot of interest through the comments. He's sort of not accepted and accepted. He's made his comments about that lack of depth in his squad and can't change his players. But that's the decisions of management. It's he has got a lot at his disposal and he's got to use it wisely. And you've got to prepare your team knowing that you're Chelsea and you're going to be playing every 3 days. Simple as that.
Is this a Chelsea manager who's making comments that as if he's counting down the days until he leaves at the end of the season?
Strangely, it seems that way, doesn't it, since the start of the season?
Yeah.
Really, he's done remarkably well last season, both tactically and in a managerial sense. In terms of motivating the team, getting them winning the league, and then all of a sudden, the bottom sort of fallen out of it to an extent, and the cost was a big blow. That was a big blow. He made a massive difference for them, I think. But
how can he not be a part of his plans for whatever reason?
Yeah,
and you haven't got a decent enough replacement. Morata is away today, not in the squad.
Yeah.
And Batshuayi, who he plays today, but didn't start midweek, and clearly doesn't fancy him as a striker.
There's so many factors behind it, though. I mean, did Conte bring Batshuayi in? We don't know. Perhaps he had a say in it. I'd be surprised if it was him who instigated that transfer. But he seems like someone who, whenever he's confronted with that question, he doesn't deny that he's not going to be there next year. He doesn't categorically state otherwise, but he just skirts around it, and you just get the feeling, don't you, that he's on not borrowed time. It might be a mutual decision. Yeah. He might be glad to get out of there.
Yes. But they need a striker. They need, well, if it's Edin Dzeko, it's Edin Dzeko. They need striker.
Yeah, you've got to, replacing goals is difficult, really difficult, and at the top level, and when you're going for trophies, not only domestic trophies but European trophies, you need high quality strikers. You can't, although I'm going to say now, you can't rely on one striker, but Tottenham seem to be doing that all right with Kane. But there does come a point where you have to freshen it, you have to have that extra quality, and goal scoring is the hardest thing to do. It really is. It's, you can set teams up, you can defend, you can have good systems, but put the ball in the back of the net. That's what it really matters, and you have to have that skill, you have to have the backing, you have to have the thought process in place to be able to replace people when they're not available, and also to replace people when they leave. And I think in Chelsea's case, that was a big blow, the Costa one, because the goals he was scoring and the goals he actually was creating was a massive part of Chelsea.
Realm, wasn't it?
Yeah, and to lose that with nothing in the pipeline to bring in, and then when you do bring the one in, it still isn't enough. Yeah. It's the planning aspect of it. But when it comes back to Conte and Chelsea, that's the way Chelsea are. That's the way they've been run. It's happened to managers before that.
But does that worry you as Rafa Benitez? We've talked all season about demeanour, what managers say. We talked before, Conte saying, I'm not getting the players that I want, but it's not my decisions. Rafa Benitez saying, we need new players, but they're not necessarily coming in.
Yeah, I think over the course of a season it can take its toll. I think players can deal with it in the short term because they're too wrapped up in their own game, really. But then when you're asked to dig deep collectively, and and it really comes to the crunch, I think negativity or feelings of negativity towards the manager or towards the situation in general can start creeping in. Players start looking a little bit for excuses, looking at others, not just themselves, really. So loads of factors can come into play, but they do look like they're lacking a bit of spirit. I mean, you even hear their own supporters. I was up there at a Newcastle game not so long ago, and local people saying, listen, we've got a championship side here that are playing in the Premier League. We're in trouble. Don't be kidded by the results. And you can see that developing, really. And if they hear that, one from the manager, and they hear it from the supporters, and they hear it in the local media, etc., etc., it has a negative effect and can dampen the spirits of them.
And then you start believing you are a championship side.
Yeah, they don't look. I mean, it's the FA Cup, okay, but you spoke about it before the game. Maybe this is an opportunity to go and express yourself. So what if you lose to Chelsea away in the FA Cup? Go and put up a spirited performance. And they did that for about 10 minutes towards the end of the first half. Sorry, they weren't terrible in the opening 35, but not enough spirit and feistiness about them, really. And it doesn't bode well for the rest of the season.
No. Comfortable victory then for Gary Cahill and Chelsea.